Hello and welcome back to Lately Fashionable. I am Chelsea Souter and I have a tier list for you today, a vintage pattern tier list. I have been wanting to make this video for a long time. As you may know, I did a lot of sewing for my year of dressing vintage. I made a total of 47 garments, and that was a 2-year span of sewing. And in that time, I used 31 patterns. Actually, that's not entirely accurate, but we'll talk about it. So like I said, I made a total of 47 garments, but 3 of those I did not make, but I altered them. So those don't count because I didn't use a pattern for them. And then an additional 4, all of them skirts, I made with no pattern at all. So there was a gathered skirt, a circle skirt, a sarong, and a pleated skirt. None of those required a pattern, so I did not use one. So if we take all of those out, we're left with 40 total garments that did use a pattern. However, I do need to add back in 10 garments that I made prior to my year of sewing vintage, which I did have in my wardrobe for the year of dressing vintage. So that is a total of 50 garments. And in making those 50 garments, I did use a total of 31 patterns. So just for fun, I did break them down to see how many of each company and whether or not they were reprints or original patterns, also which decade the patterns are from. So for these simplicity patterns, I had a total of 14, 7 of which were original true vintage patterns, and the other 7 are reprints. 8 of them are 1940s, 2 are 1950s, 3 are 1960s, and 1 is 1970s. For McCall's, there are only 5 patterns, 4 of which are true vintage, and 1 is a reprint. Then with Butterick, I have a total of 6 patterns. They are all reprints, no originals, but 5 from the 40s, 1 from the 50s, but just barely. It's 51. And for all of the rest, there's only 1 Vogue pattern, which is a reprint, and then the rest are reproduction patterns from other small companies. We have 1 Scroop Patterns, which is actually a historical reproduction pattern from the 1900s. And I used it twice as the back of the skirt for a 1940s A-line skirt. So I really just used the back piece to get the pleats. Then there's the Mary Quant dress, which is a Victoria and Albert Museum reproduction of the Georgie dress. And then I have 2 from Vintage Sewing Pattern Company. 1 is 40s, 1 is 50s, and then 1 skirt pattern from Wearing History, which is 1950s. Now, breaking them up by decade, all of these reprint and reproduction ones are just generic 1940s, not pinned to a specific year. Then I have this reprint and these 3 originals from 1943, this reprint and these 3 originals from 1944, a reprint from 46, an original and a reprint from 47, a reprint and an original from 48. Only 5 from the 50s. These 3 are reprint or reproductions, generic 1950s, and then this reprint from 51, and this original from 55. 4 from the 60s, 2 are reprints or reproduction, generic 60s. This one is 62, this one is 63, those are both original true vintage. And then I have 2 that bookend the 40s through 60s nicely. I've got 1 from the 1900s and 1 from the 1970s, a reproduction and reprint. Now we're going to look at each pattern individually, and you will see how many garments I made from each one. Starting with the vintage wrap dress pattern from the 1970s. I have made it once so far, but I do intend to make it again. So, as the first pattern on our tier list, which I can explain, the S tier is genuine pleasure, which means The pattern was good to work with the entire time, and I liked the results with no significant alterations. That is the best. Then we have Solid plus Versatile. That's a pattern that I have used many times, I will continue to use many times. I may make some alterations to the fit or to the style, but in general, really good pattern, good to have in the collection, will use again. In the middle, I have One and Done for a pattern that I liked the finished result, but I probably don't need to make that style ever again. So, solid middle ground. Then I have Another Chance, which is maybe I didn't enjoy working with the pattern the first time, but it's possible that the fabric was to blame, and I might give it another chance with another fabric and see if it works better. And of course we have Never Again. That's pretty self-explanatory. So, where is my 70s wrap dress? Here she is. We're putting this one in Solid plus Versatile. I've made it once, and I will make it again. I have plans for at least one more of that dress. Moving on to Simplicity 1228. This is an original 1940s pattern. It's a maternity pattern, and I did use it both times I was pregnant. I made this sundress when I was pregnant with my daughter in 2017, and then I made the blouse over here when I was pregnant with my son in 2021. So this one is the sundress. I just made it without the ruffles on the shoulders. And I liked wearing it so much that I wanted another dress in the same style. So I went back, and this time I made the jumper dress version from a wool petticoat, and I love that dress a lot as well. I also used the blouse pattern again to make this blouse, but I made significant changes to it. I used it as a base for the front and back, and then you'll see later I used another pattern for the front scalloped edges, and I kind of made up the sleeves. But that does count as a use. So, going back to our tier list, we're going to put this one in Solid and Versatile. Next, we have another maternity pattern, also from 1944. I have made this one once, and I might make it again. I really liked the dress I made from it. It's extremely comfortable. I love how flexible it is with sizing, same as the other maternity pattern. And actually, I should say that I have used this one more than once, because technically I did use the drawstring function when I made the black floral dress and just put it in the back of that dress. So I've technically used it twice. Therefore, I believe it will belong in Solid and Versatile once again. Okay, this one, I really like the dress, but the fabric that I chose does snag really easily, and it's polyester, so it's not super comfortable to wear. But I really like the style, so I feel like I should give it another chance. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to give it another chance. All right. Now we're getting to the good stuff. Simplicity 3688, a 1940s reprint that I have used so many times. I had lost count. I had to literally go back and look at all of the garments I'd made. And it was 8. And I'm definitely not done using this one. I've made 3 skirts that are just straight, the pattern as is, no significant alterations, although I did add pockets to all of them. And I have made it twice with the aforementioned 1900s reproduction pattern, the fantail skirt, but we'll come back to that. I also made these 2 a little bit longer, just for variety. I have made the blouse once. It is almost an exact copy of the one on the pattern, which wasn't entirely intentional, it's just the fabric I happen to have. And I have made the trousers twice so far. I have also cut out the jacket twice. I have a jacket cutout that matches this skirt, and I have a jacket cutout that matches this skirt and this pair of pants. So I should probably finish those at some point. And then I will have used every piece in this pattern. It's 4 total garments, and I have made 3 of the 4 of them. So you know where this one's going. This one is the definition of solid and versatile. All right, next we have a really adorable cocktail dress pattern that I have made 1.5 times. You only see it on here once because the other dress that I made from just the bodice of this pattern, it is finished, but literally like 2 days ago. So that was not during my year of dressing vintage. I don't have pictures of it yet. That will be its own video. So definitely watch for that. I'm really looking forward to it, and I am very relieved to have it done. I'm actually going to put this one up in Genuine Pleasure. It's a great pattern, and I love the dress it makes. Okay, now here is the historical fantail skirt pattern that I used twice to make the back of an A-line skirt, mostly because I had enough fabric that I wanted to make a fuller skirt for both of these, and I was so pleased with how it came out the first time that I did it again. It's very hard to tell in these pictures, but this skirt is brown, and this one is navy blue, and it has velvet ribbon applique all over it. I have 2 whole videos about the velvet ribbon applique skirt. It is very hard to photograph and get the ribbon to show up. It's a little frustrating. Also, I have used this fantail skirt 3 other times as an actual historical costume pattern. So I have 3 Edwardian skirts that sometimes I wear in my everyday life. But putting that one again in Genuine Pleasure. Okay, the vest and jacket pattern. I've only made the 1 vest so far. I have 2 more cut out, and I also plan to make the jacket with the sleeves at some point. I don't think that one's cut out yet, but I really need to get on those other vests because I love wearing this one so much. It's absolutely one of my favorite pieces, and I do not wear it enough. Gonna put the vest pattern, where are you? I want to put it in Genuine Pleasure, but it was a little tricky and finicky to figure out the first time. So I'm going to put it in Solid and Versatile. Yeah. Okay. This pattern and I have had a rocky relationship, I'm not going to lie. I first made this blouse as a wearable mock-up of the dress pattern that I eventually wanted to make the full dress, but I also wanted a blouse. I've done that a lot with these patterns, you will see going forward. I've made a lot of blouses from dress patterns. Now, I do like this blouse, but I did not choose the right fabric for this style with the sort of shelf sleeves. I don't want to call them cap sleeves. They are cut in one with the bodice, and they're meant to kind of stick out without any shoulder pad. There's no shoulder pad in the pattern. But this fabric that I used is very flowy and drapey, and it was just not the right fit for the pattern. So then I made the full dress from what I thought was the correct fabric for the pattern. And it is like stiff enough. It does have the right body to hold the shape of the sleeves, but it's also very weak fabric, and it is starting to tear apart at the darts, where there's a little bit of horizontal strain on the stitching. Also, this dress came out looking like a vintage nurse's costume, which is not what I was going for. I wanted seaside vacation, and it just wasn't doing that. Even when I do pair it with a belt, which I'm not wearing a belt in this photo, but it's not what I wanted. And that's okay. I do wear it as a swimsuit cover-up, and I use it as a blouse under other skirts. So it's not a total loss. And then I was pretty sure if I used the pattern again with a better fabric, I would get better results. And I was right. I absolutely love this dress. It was so easy to make. It turned out beautifully. I added pockets, but that's the only significant alteration I made to it. I wear it all the time. I get so many compliments on it. This dress redeemed this pattern for sure. And I am going to put it in solid and versatile. Like I said, we've had our ups and downs. I can't say it was a genuine pleasure to use every time. Just one of three. Okay, now this one, I do think it needs to be redeemed. I did make the full dress once, and I loved the dress, and I wore it a lot long ago when it still fit me. It doesn't fit me anymore, and in fact, I have taken it apart. I had originally thought I was going to use just the skirt portion and wear it in my current wardrobe, but I have since decided to fully move on from it. The fabric I chose was a polyester satin and very cheap quality, so it was fraying a lot at especially the back keyhole opening at the neck, and it also felt like wearing a trash bag, so I never wanted to wear it, even though it looked really cute. So I need to find a better fabric and remake this entire dress. I have made it again as a blouse and as a skirt, mostly because I didn't have enough of either of those fabrics to make the full dress. Also, once again, the blouse was supposed to be a wearable mock-up for the full dress, which, like I said, I did make. But I think that was back in 2016, and I had already taken that dress out of my wardrobe before I started my year of sewing vintage. I knew I was not going to wear it. But anyway, all that to say, I want to give this one another chance. I had some issues with every version of it I've made, but I think I just need to find the right fabric. Okay, now this one, I'm wearing the blouse I made from it today. It is one of my favorites. And once again, I made the blouse from the dress pattern because I wanted blouses in my wardrobe and I was really struggling to find vintage blouse patterns. So I just kept using the top half of a dress pattern to get the blouses I wanted. And then I was so happy with how this one came out. I was like, yes, I need to make the full dress, which I didn't have a plan for when I originally started my year of sewing vintage. I was just going to make the blouse. So then I had to find fabric in my stash to make the dress. And I used this black floral. And like I said, I did the drawstring from the front of the maternity pattern for the back of this dress. And I think it turned out really well. And I want to make this dress again. I even have fabric picked out. It was great to work with both times, so I'm putting it in genuine pleasure. Okay, so this one, I made 2 blouses and a skirt from a dress pattern. Once again, this one, I really made it because I barely had enough fabric to make a blouse. This was the only pattern I could find that I could get all of the pieces on, and I still had to piece like the facings on the inside. But it had this contrast fabric for the yoke and the sleeve bands, so that's genuinely how I was able to get this garment made. And I hated it. I hated working on it. It was a pain. I'm not super happy with the fit of either blouse. I had actually started on this one before I started on this one, but I didn't finish this one until just a few months ago, actually. It was one of my UFOs, so it was either January or February, I don't remember which. But I must have suffered amnesia about working on this one because I don't remember it at all. And when I made this one, it was like I was making it for the first time, even though when I pulled out the UFO to finish the second blouse, all I had left to do was put the cuffs on the sleeves and put the sleeves on the blouse. That was it. Everything else was already done. So I had done the neck yoke once before. I just had no memory of it, and it was awful. So I never want to make it again. And then when I did finish this blouse, I realized I still had enough fabric left to make the skirt. I guess for completion's sake, I wanted to make it. I didn't really enjoy working on the skirt either. I wasn't super happy with how either of them looked separately. I do like how they look together, so I should have just made the dress in the first place. And I am going to combine them into one garment. But as for the pattern, never again. It's funny I had to try it 3 times before I could decide that, but... Okay, now this one is a little misleading because I have actually used this pattern twice, but I only have one garment on here because I made the other one, once again, back in 2016 when I was a much smaller size, and it no longer fits me, which is sad because it's extremely cute, and I wish I could wear it today. And when I made that first dress, I used the halter version of the pattern, and I remember it being fine to work with. And then when I made the more full coverage version with the sleeves, I hated it so much. And I don't think this one is a case of amnesia. I actually do remember making that first dress. It just, for whatever reason, was not as awful to do as version B. I do think this was mainly due to fabric choice. I used a very flowy, drapey, squidgy rayon challis fabric for this version, and this pattern has to have 3 triangles lining up exactly perfectly in 2 different spots, and it was a nightmare. And maybe it's because I used the halter version the first time around. I only had to match up triangles once. Anyway, it was quite a trial to work with, but like I said, that might be down to fabric choice, and I feel like I should give it another chance. I want to put it in Never Again, but I actually love the dress that I made, even though it was awful to make. Okay, this is the first actual blouse pattern I used. We're all so proud. I did like it. It's the same fabric as this blouse that I'm wearing, and both of them were really nice to make because the fabric is really nice to work with. And I wanted to try out this neck bow style just to see if I was going to like it. I don't wear it as much as I hoped I would, so this one is probably going to be a one and done. I needed to try it out, and now I have, but I don't see myself making it again. Okay, another actual blouse pattern, amazing. This one, I absolutely had to make this view because those sleeves are everything. And I was super pleased with how it came out, even though the fabric I'm pretty sure is polyester. And I kind of want to remake it in a silk fabric that I bought that's the same color, but a higher quality. I'm going to put this one in solid and versatile, because although it was a little difficult to work with, I do want to make it again. Speaking of difficult to work with, oh my, this is the only Vogue pattern in this list, and I'd always heard that Vogue patterns are really difficult to work with, and yes, it was. Now, it may be that I made it more difficult for myself. I absolutely made it more difficult for myself by using a large plaid print that I then had to pattern match, and I hated my life. But oh boy, am I happy with the results. So this one, I'm going to put it in one and done. I don't think I'm going to make it again. I had thoughts of making it as a dress versus as a coat. It's actually a dress pattern, but I made it as a coat. I just split the skirt and extended the facings all the way down. And I love it as a coat. I don't think I would wear it as a dress, so I probably will not make it. I have so many other dress patterns that are way higher priority. Alright, now this pattern I did specifically buy for a specific costume, really. It's a vintage cosplay mashup of a 1940s tailored suit with Dr. Beverly Crusher from Star Trek: The Next Generation. I had so much fun making it. I've had a lot of fun wearing it. I wore it to a convention, which was a lot of fun. But I don't really get a lot of daily use out of any of these 3 pieces. I really like the jacket in concept. I love how it looks on me, but the shoulders are so big and the color blocking is so stark, I think. I just don't feel really comfortable in my own skin wearing it, unless I am wearing it as the Beverly Crusher cosplay. And the 2 pencil skirts, they're fine, but I just gravitate towards A-line skirts because I think those are more flattering on me. Therefore, I think this one is one and done. It served its purpose beautifully, but I probably won't ever need to make it again. Okay, now this one, I've only made the swing coat from this one so far. I think I have cut out the dress, but I never sewed it together. It's a maternity pattern, once again, from the 1940s. And I wanted to make the dress when I was pregnant with my son, but I had lost the pattern for like 6 months of my pregnancy, and by the time I found it again, it was kind of too late. It's in one of my UFO boxes, so I will finish it this year. It's on the list. But like I said, I made the swing coat and I absolutely love it. I wore it more than almost any other garment. I think only the plaid princess coat got more wears in my year of dressing vintage. I wear this jacket all the time, and I will probably make it again. It's a really great jacket. Gonna put it in solid and versatile. Now this one, I used the pattern to make my birthday gown, mainly because I knew it was really going to let the fabric shine. I used a silk damask, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And then the pattern was so nice to work with, and I was so pleased with the fit of the gown that I decided I wanted the dress again, but in a cotton fabric that I could wear every day. So I made this black one from a quilting cotton. I made it as a true wrap dress, which is not what the pattern calls for, so I had to make some adjustments. But it worked out really well, and I do wear it a lot. And I will probably make it again. I'm putting this one in Genuine Pleasure. Now, this one, I have so far only made the jacket. It was really simple and easy to do. I have since made just the bodice portion once again. It was one of my UFOs this year because I cut it out last year, never made it before the summer was over. I had just enough for the bodice pieces, and I wanted a pink top to go with some of my skirts. And I also plan to make the full dress, so I would probably put this one in solid and versatile, because I'm sure I will make the jacket again. And like I said, I'm going to make the full dress. Okay, this is my favorite pattern. I first made the house coat. I used an old fitted sheet that I got at a thrift store. I loved the finished result so much, and the pattern was so nice to work with. I immediately made the dress version. So I've made both views. They were both so easy. They went together beautifully. I love the pockets on this pattern. I will make this dress again. Absolutely no notes. This one is the definition of genuine pleasure. This pattern was my first vintage sewing pattern company pattern that I used, and I will definitely be buying from them again because I have been very impressed with their patterns. They are reproductions of original vintage patterns from the 40s, 50s. I think they also have 30s, maybe 20s. You can go on their website and look. They have a lot of good stuff. This one's pretty simple. It's a halter. It wraps around in the back and ties in the front. It's very cute. I am going to put it in one and done. I don't think I'm ever going to make it again, just because I have found that I don't really like halter tops very much. Although that may just be a function of needing a better strapless bra than I currently have. Now this one I made because I had just enough fabric. Had to piece the facings, but I got it. And this was the only pattern in my stash that I could fit on the amount of fabric I had. And I wanted to use that fabric because it matched some of the skirts already in my wardrobe. It was fine to work with. I'm not super excited about how it looks on me, so it's probably going to be a one and done. Here is another Vintage Sewing Pattern Company blouse. I made the purple one with not enough fabric. I had to piece it in several spots, none of which show because it was either the self-facing on the sleeves or around the bottom, which gets tucked into whatever skirt or pair of pants I'm wearing. So it doesn't matter. And I also had to use a different fabric for the neck binding and the bows, but it worked out beautifully. And I was so pleased with it, and I loved how it looked. I loved how it felt. It went together really well. So I of course made another version in a pink quilting cotton, which I also did not have enough fabric for, and I also had to piece it below the waistline. But that's okay. This one was a genuine pleasure, and I will make it again. Now this one, I either bought the pattern to go with the fabric or the fabric to go with the pattern. I don't remember which one I got first, but I knew that they had to go together. They were just perfect for each other. And even though I had this one on my to-make list for several years, when it came time to actually make it, I was really doubtful about whether or not I would get much wear out of it, because it's really not my usual style. But I did end up making it for my Las Vegas vacation last year, which I thought was the perfect time to make it, and it was. But I have actually worn it several times since then. I think it will be a one and done. It was really nice to work with, but like I said, it's just not really my style. And I don't see me making it in another fabric. I think the fabric that I chose was perfect. I'm not going to find anything better. And I do not want to make the long sleeve version. Now this one I think really is my style, and I was originally planning to make it more than once, but it wasn't the best to work with. It was a little bit finicky. I did like how it turned out, but I don't think it's necessarily worth making again, especially when I have other very similar patterns that I did like better. So I think that will be another one and done. Now this is another one that I originally made the pattern back in 2016. That dress no longer fits me, and I'm very sad about it. So I really made this one as a replacement for that dress, and I'm super happy with it. I remembered it being a pretty decent pattern to work with originally. I did make a few changes to bring it back to the original version of the pattern, because this is a reprint, but they made some changes to make it more of a modern fit. So I added back some of the things that they took out of the original pattern. And I am really happy with it. I don't know that I'll need to make it again now that I have the dress that I wanted from it. So I think it's going to be one and done. Okay, now this skirt I am also wearing today. I was really pleased with this pattern, and I love how it came out. A lot of that does have to do with the fact that this is my favorite color and I want more of it in my wardrobe. So I was really happy to finally make this skirt. It had been on my list for years, and I'm going to put it in genuine pleasure because it was great and I'm super pleased with the finished result. Now this one, I made this cape on a total whim. I was realizing that I kind of needed an in-between winter garment for when it was too cold to just wear my swing coat, which is one layer of wool. It's really a lightweight jacket, but not quite cold enough for the full-length princess coat, because I love that coat, but it can also just be a bit much. And sometimes I just want something to throw on and run out the door. So I made this cape. Did not have enough fabric to do it. It turned out pretty decent, I think, for the concessions I had to make. And I think I want to try it again and make it more properly this time and see if I get better results. There's nothing really wrong with the cape, but I think I would like to make the longer version. Okay, this pattern I will definitely use again. So far I have only used this view with the scalloped front. Like I said, I used it in conjunction with the blouse pattern from that first maternity pattern to make it into a full blouse. So I combined the front of this dicky pattern with the full blouse and then just made my own sleeves. And I'm super happy with that blouse. I love it. It's a lot of fun to wear, and I really can't wait to see what other blouses I can make with it. Like I said, it's hard to find vintage blouse patterns, so I get excited when I do. And finally, we have the Mary Quant Georgie dress. This was a free pattern download from the V&A website. I have since made the full dress, but I originally first made it as a wearable mock-up using just the bodice portion. And it was genuinely great to work with. I think I just need to size up the next time I make it, because I cut both of these out a few years ago, and then I gained weight in between cutting them out and actually sewing them together. So I had to adjust after I had already done all of the cutting, but that's okay. I'm going to put this in solid and versatile because what's better than a wrap dress? That's endlessly useful. So let's look at the finished tier list. I have most of the patterns in solid and versatile, then the next highest number in one and done, which doesn't really surprise me. I have bought a lot of patterns with exactly one garment in mind, and sometimes that's all you get out of them, and that's okay. But I am happy to report that the next highest number is in genuine pleasure. So that was a total of 7. That's pretty good. I'm pleased with that. There are 4 that I'm going to give another chance. Pick a better fabric this time. And 1 that I have no interest in making ever again, and that's okay. I'm really quite pleased with this breakdown, actually. So, for reference, 3 of my genuine pleasures are true vintage original patterns. 3 are reproductions from small independent pattern companies, and only 1 is a reprint from one of the big 4. That's a Butterick. For solid plus versatile, it's a lot of reprints, mostly Simplicity, a couple McCalls. Actually, both the McCalls are original true vintage patterns. And 3 of the Simplicity are also true vintage. 4 of the Simplicity in this category are reprints. There's the Mary Quant reproduction and 1 Butterick reproduction. Most of the Butterick patterns are actually in one and done, as is the 1 Vogue, 2 Simplicity true vintage patterns, 1 McCall's true vintage, and then the 1 Vintage Sewing Pattern Company reproduction. Then I'm going to give another chance to 3 of the Simplicity reprints and 1 Butterick. And then the 1 McCall's reprint is in Never Again. Every other McCall's pattern was a true original, and they are all in solid and versatile, or genuine pleasure, and one and done. There's 1 in one and done. And let's see, for genuine pleasure, 3 are 1940s, 2 are 1950s, 1 is 1960s, and 1 is 1900s. For solid and versatile, 8 are 40s, 1 is 50s, 1 is 60s, and 1 is 70s. For one and done, we've got 5 from the 40s, 2 from the 50s, and 1 from the 60s. And then for another chance, 3 are 40s, 1 is 60s, and the 1 Never Again pattern is 1940s reprint. Well, I think that about covers it. Okay, well, that was a lot of talking, but I had a lot of fun. I never made a tier list video before, but now I kind of want to make more. Maybe I'll do one for shoes. Anyway, that's all I have for you for this one. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give me a like, and if you want to see more, definitely subscribe. And I will see you next week. Bye! I do like how they look together, so I should have just... I do have... unless I am wearing it as the Beverly Crow. I have actually... So... Sometimes